Welcome back. Now, cases of human trafficking have become widespread and perpetrators never punished, as majority of them go undetected. Now, more often than not, victims of trafficking are targeted when they are at their most vulnerable, and offers to work or study abroad usually begin genuinely. And this makes the true scale of the problem difficult to gauge. Now, according to the Office of the Director of Public Prosecutions, Kenya is classified as a source, transit, and destination for victims of human trafficking. Now, ahead of the United Nations World Day Against Trafficking in Persons, that's tomorrow, we have a discussion around the work happening in this space and the efforts to rehabilitate victims who have lived to tell the tale. Joining me in studio now is Winnie Mutevu, Advocacy, Partnership and Development Manager at HEART, and Brenda Odhiambo, a survivor advocate. Thank you, ladies, for joining me this evening.
Thank you for having us.
Let me begin with you, Winnie, just so our audience understands the different kinds of human trafficking out there.
So when it comes to human trafficking, I think what is majorly well known is when it comes to people being trafficked to the Gulf countries for forced labor. Yeah. But it's broader than that. We have children being trafficked within our own homes as domestic workers. We've seen many people also being paraded in the streets, being forced to beg. Child marriage is also classified as a form of human trafficking. So it's broad and diverse, and it just depends on, is it an adult who is being engaged or is it a child? Because they're able to identify it differently based on how then the protocol is able to define human trafficking.
Right. Let me come to you, Brenda, because what are some of the trends that you're noticing? What are survivors saying is happening to them?
Thank you. I can speak about the challenges that survivors are having. Mostly when someone, he or she wants to travel abroad for job, or some people travel for job, others education, and others medication. But mostly I'll just speak for job because that's what I experienced. Most of the people, when they get, there is an agent, it's a deal. When there is an agent, then you're being transferred to the destination country. So most of the people, the challenge they get, it's about the contract. You may find that here in Kenya, there is a contract that you are being given, but when you go there, like from my experience, I was given a contract that it's written, I'll be serving 4 members of the house, but reaching there, I went as a housemaid. So reaching there, I found it's not 4 members of the house. Instead, it was 12 members. Wow. Yeah, father, mother, and 10 kids. So, because I had already reached there, I was just supposed to work. Another challenge. So my contract, reaching there, my contract had already been contradicted, because you see, it had indicated that I'm going to serve for 4 members of the house, and I'm going, reaching there, it's 12 members of the house. And other thing, it's about the passport. You are being promised by the agent, you'll be the one having your passport when you reach there. And even at this time in Kenya, we don't have access in our passport. We are only being given in the airport at JKIA. So when we reached there, we gave out our passports, and it's being given to our employer, so you don't have any access of your passport. And even me, I came home without my passport.
How did you get out?
The government of Saudi, they just made papers for me because my boss refused to give out my passport. So I just came without my passport.
My goodness. And did you kind of send a message to cry for help? How did you get that message out that you were in that situation? I
tried to reach to my agents, but they blocked me. You know, it's a deal. You're being sold. You're not. It's not just a free deal. You know, while in Kenya they tell you it's a free job, like they are going to cater for everything, about the passport, the travel, and everything. But it's a deal between the Arabs and the agents. So you're being sold out. Like, as for me, my boss used to, whenever I complained something, my boss used to tell me, I give her the money she used to buy me. Like, she bought me in the sum of 600,000 Kenyan shillings. So she knew that it was a deal between me and my agent. So when I was complaining to her that I want to terminate the contract because the workload was so heavy for me that I didn't expect, and I've never done such a heavy load of work. And I used to do in a lot of hours that my health, it affected my health. So whenever I complained to her, she used to say, give me back my money so that I can let you free. Yes, sure.
You know, and what Brenda has just described, Winnie, it's modern day slavery. Let's just put it that way, in terms of her experience and countless other individuals. But when you look at the victims, you know, I read earlier in the intro that it's when someone is at their most vulnerable, right? You're looking for work, you're looking for better opportunities, you're hoping that you'll find that abroad. But, you know, from your work that you do at Heart, who are the most likely?
I think we have a profile where you'll find most of the time it's individuals who really have families, or maybe they're already having gender-based violence in their communities, people who are low-skilled, who don't have many opportunities. And it varies depending on where they're being taken from. Majority of them is from the grassroots areas or even the urban settings. And the thing is, as much as we'll be able to say these things are happening, some of them are really aware that this is a risk they're taking. But they're saying, I'm willing to take the risk and die while trying than just stay here, not being able to take care of my family members, or even taking care of myself. And we have individuals who actually have papers, have degrees, but they're still falling prey to these situations. So the profile of a victim, honestly, at this stage, it varies, and it really depends on where you're being trafficked to. And I think looking into the Laos situation that was highly shared last year, we had many of them who had gone to school, were able to use computers, had their degrees, and where were they being targeted because they can speak English, and two, able to use computers. That was a key thing for you to be targeted. And so it's no longer the profile where you have to be low skilled to be trafficked. Anyone right now can be trafficked.
It's interesting because I read an article about a young lady who trained to be a dental assistant here, was taken to, I think it was Iraq, and she worked as an assistant for some time, and then the plot switched. And she found out that the agency that took her there got a higher commission from someone who wanted her to be a domestic worker, and she had to change jobs. I mean, how often do you see such?
It's quite common, and the thing is, many of the individuals who end up in these situations, first of all, are not even familiar on what really their rights are when you're in these foreign countries. So then it becomes a situation where you don't even know where to run to for help. Whom can you talk to? How are you able to just really say no and come back into the country? So when you get stuck and you don't know where to run to, then they're forced to really more or less comply and do what they have to do to stay alive. So it happens a lot where also, as Brenda was mentioning, when you're leaving the country, some of them receive their passports at the airport. So actually, sometimes even you're living with someone else's passport. Upon arrival, it's being taken away by the agent. So you really don't have much control of your documentation, even the process of movement. Sometimes that's how you end up really being stuck and not being able to get out of it. That's why we have many of them also dying in these spaces, and no one is really able to step in and help because they don't even know that you left the country. Which are your documents? How do we even follow up? Sometimes family members come and report to us, our child left the country a number of years ago. We are not able to reach her. Can you help us with what information? So it becomes very challenging. I think one of the things we've been able to do so far is looking into how do we educate the public on how do you safely migrate, because for sure, migration is our right as a human being, but how do you safely migrate to really reduce your risk of being trafficked?
Brenda, let me come to you in terms of the assistance that survivors get. So, you know, you've been rescued, you come back home. What happens?
When you come back home, you know, like when I came back home, I found Heart Kenya. It's an organization. This is Heart Kenya. It's awareness against human trafficking. So they're helping survivors and victims who have undergone human trafficking. When you come back, when you engage with them, you get psychosocial support. This is you get some of the people come when they have nothing, totally nothing, and when they come to Kenya, they found that they have no savings. So this psychosocial support, they cater for your housing, food, and some training, economic empowerment. They open a business for you. You go for therapies. You know, therapy. You know, some of the people survivors who comes from the Gulf, they get mentally ill because of the challenges that they have undergone there. So you go to a psychiatrist. You're being treated. Then when you're okay, they bring up a business for you that it can help you manage life here in Kenya. So, and there is a lot of trainings in there. Like, as for me, as after the psychosocial support, there is this beyond trainings. So I managed and entered some of it. I was being trained as a research consultant, of which now I'm working with Heart Kenya as their research consultant, yes. So, and I've been engaged in a lot of global forums, conferences. I've been able to go out of the country, speak, create awareness in a lot of countries, so that we can stop this thing. You know, our theme this year, it's leave no one behind. Right. So we are just trying to create more awareness so that others cannot get into trafficking.
No, absolutely.
Yes.
And fantastic to hear that you're seeing the world on your terms now, right?
Yes.
It's amazing. But, you know, Winnie, let me wrap up with you in terms of what legislation, what laws, what guidelines exist. You know, we saw recently the government coming up with a few, especially what was happening in the Gulf states. But are they working?
Well, I think what we can see right now, there's progress. Yep. And the thing is, we also have the will from the government as well, really being able to do something around it. We do have an act in place since 2010. And so it's really able to guide what can be done. And we have different agencies being able to really come on board and have different actions taking place. Yeah. And looking into yesterday, we had the government being able to launch the National Plan of Action for the next 4 or 5 years. And really being able to see what is being done around the prevention area, the protection area, and also looking into them being able to launch guidelines. We've had a trust fund available to support victims of human trafficking. So now we have guidelines to guide, if as a victim I'm back into the country, how can I seek help from the government? As a CSO, how can I support victims then being able to access the trust fund as well? So we do have different guidelines. We also do have a specialized court that really looks into transorganized crimes. And that has really helped for us to be able to see then cases being fast-tracked. So we do have also agencies from the DCA that really focus on trafficking matters. One on children, one on transorganized crimes. And this has really helped us be able to move forward. And we're trying to see how best we continue supporting the government to be able to do more and address the different challenges that we're experiencing as a country.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, Brenda and Winnie, for coming in. And this is the little we can do to help raise awareness. Of course, tomorrow is the actual day, but these conversations need to continue. So like you said, Brenda, no one is left behind.
Sure.
All right, on that note, let's take a short break here on Citizen Weekend. Sports news up next.